been 2 weeks since Vice President Kamala Harris's sweeping loss to President-elect Trump, and her campaign is now under pressure to explain how over $1 billion were spent in just 3 months. To make matters worse, reports show the Harris campaign is $20 million in the red. Although the campaign is denying the reports, Democrats now are left picking up the pieces and looking for answers on where all the money went and what's next for the party. Joining me now is The Hill's national political reporter, Julia Manchester. Julia, thanks so much for coming on. You just have this article that's out now about this $1 billion that was spent. They lost the popular vote, Democrats. They lost all 7 swing states. There's been this controversy over these production costs. Oprah's company apparently received $1 million. There's been a cost associated with other celebrity events. Beyonce, she didn't even sing. I don't know how they spent that much money, but what do you make, and what is being said about all this money that Democrats spent on this campaign just to lose?
Well, it's important to note that none of these figures, the celebrity figures like Oprah, Beyonce, they did not take personal fees, but it's the production costs around this, building the stages, getting all of this set. And it's not just these big celebrity events. I mean, door knocking operations are also very expensive. Ad spending is very expensive. I mean, going on air in some of these large media markets, frankly, costs money. So this is where that debt is coming from, but there's a lot of, or the reported debt seems to be coming from the campaign, says it's not in debt, that is not false. But at the same time, we're hearing reports that there are still vendors that are essentially sending receipts to the Harris campaign asking to be paid. Is
there infighting inside the Democratic Party over how all this is handled, or is it just like, hands washed, $1 billion, let's move on?
I think any time after a campaign wraps and the losing campaign is under scrutiny, there is lots of finger pointing, what went wrong, just in general, not just with spending. But we are seeing some, and we chatted with a number of DNC members who were upset with the way money was spent, donors who gave to the campaign. They feel that their money wasn't spent the way they would like it to. That being said, though, there are a lot of defenders of Kamala Harris who say she was given a near impossible task, becoming the presumptive Democratic nominee, roughly 3 months before Election Day, that she had this very high road to take. And there is some finger pointing at Joe Biden for not getting out soon enough.
What about these reports that the campaign is $20 million in the hole? Is there any truth to that? I know you mentioned that there were some vendors still waiting on money. And what does the campaign say they're going to do about that?
Yeah, to be honest, it's unclear. The campaign says they are not $20 million in debt, but we know that on December 5th, there will be a finance report that will be released, the filing that will give us more information as to where they are financially. We do know, though, it's interesting, the campaign is still fundraising. So after former President Trump or President-elect Trump announced Matt Gaetz to be his Attorney General nominee, the Harris campaign put out a fundraising appeal talking about Matt Gaetz. So you have to wonder, why is a campaign that is effectively over still fundraising?
And real quick, I know you have to go, but how does this Democrat spending compare to what Republicans did in the cycle?
It's unclear right now because we're going to be getting those reports from the Trump campaign, but it seems that the Harris campaign did outspend the Trump campaign. We know that there were reports, points during the campaign, like in October, where Donald Trump narrowly outspent Kamala Harris on broadcast. But in general, it seems that Donald Trump was not left in the red financially, where it seems like, according to these reports, the Harris campaign may have been.
Money doesn't seem to have been the issue. Julia Manchester, national political reporter here at The Hill. Thanks so much for coming on. One of President-elect Trump's biggest and newest allies is billionaire Elon Musk, who pumped over $100 million into Trump's re-election efforts. Now questions surround if the two can keep a cozy relationship moving forward. Trump jokingly told Republicans on Capitol Hill that he can't get rid of Musk, as the pair appear together at event after event. But for the time being, the two seem to be getting along just fine, as Trump is scheduled to attend SpaceX's launch today from Boca Chica, Texas. Let's check in with The Hill's national political reporter, Cate Martel, with more on this story. Cate, Trump's appearance at today's launch is another demonstration of the close ties the two have formed. What are people saying about this latest public display of friendship?
Yeah, well, Drew, it's been a fascinating friendship to watch blossom over the past few months. Elon Musk only first endorsed Trump back in July, and ever since, as you mentioned, he's spent more than $100 million helping get President Trump elected into office. And now we're seeing later today, that President-elect Trump will be in Texas for the SpaceX launch. It's fascinating to see how this has developed over the past few months. And now Elon Musk, who doesn't have a lot of experience in politics, is now involved in helping hire some of the most important roles in government. I think it shows just how similar the two men are. They both believe that they're not in the status quo that we know in government, and both think that they can shake things up. And I think that's kind of what brought this friendship together, that we're now seeing, another public appearance together today.
Are there ways that Musk could leverage his relationship with the president-elect when it comes to his companies like SpaceX?
I think it'll be interesting to see over the next few months how this plays out with Elon Musk having Trump's ear, because SpaceX is a major U.S. contractor, and I think that we can only see greater things happening from that, particularly on environmental regulations. As it stands right now, the FAA only allows about 5 launches per year from SpaceX due to environmental reasons. Now, I expect that will kind of pull back over the next few months. That is a priority for the incoming Trump administration, to roll back a lot of the Biden-era environmental protections. So this really can, I think, help SpaceX with Elon Musk's future. Also, we've seen that former President Trump has said repeatedly on the campaign trail that he wants to get astronauts to Mars. And, SpaceX and Elon Musk at the helm, I think, could very much be a part of that.
All right, it'll be interesting to continue to follow this very important relationship. Thank you, Cate Martel. A new YouGov poll shows so-called woke terminology that President-elect Trump and other Republicans ran against may not be as widely used as it might seem. The survey of more than 1,100 U.S. adults tested a total of 30 woke terms, including safe space, white privilege, mansplaining, and trigger warning. While the results show the majority of Americans had heard of many of the terms, few said they used them regularly. The most frequently used term, safe space, was regularly used by only 20% of respondents. Meantime, the term woke was used even less frequently, with just 19% saying they use it regularly. The study did show the use of the term was concentrated among Democrats. Among his controversial views, RFK Jr. has been touting his support for raw milk, bringing the concerns surrounding unpasteurized milk into the national spotlight. This despite the National Institute of Health's warning that raw milk may contain germs and illnesses, including bird flu. News Nation's Mills Hayes has the latest in the debate.
The risks of consuming raw milk are well documented. While raw milk was a staple before pasteurization was developed, there were also higher rates of foodborne illnesses. Without pasteurization, harmful bacteria like E. coli, Salmonella, and Listeria can remain in the milk, potentially causing severe illnesses, particularly in children, pregnant women, and those with weakened immune systems. And now there's a new concern, H5N1, more commonly known as avian or bird flu. The National Institute of Health now recommending people avoid raw milk to prevent getting sick with bird flu. The CDC so far reports 46 people have been infected with bird flu in the United States. But raw milk has become very popular with the health and wellness community, especially with the push against processed foods. Nearly 11 million Americans drink raw milk, and the CDC says that it is growing in popularity. While it's still illegal to sell raw milk in at least a dozen states today, more states are loosening laws as demand rises. And raw milk farmers like Cliff McGonville with Allgrass Farms says they and their customers have experienced its health benefits firsthand.
Me personally, I can tell you that I used to get sick like 3 times a year, with colds or flu, and I almost never get sick anymore.
Farmers and raw milk advocates argue the dairy industry is against raw milk because it's bad for their bottom line. But the health advocates argue that we have the tools to make milk safer now, and ignoring that is a step backward. In Chicago, Mills Hayes.
News Nation's Mills Hayes, thank you so much. On the campaign trail, President-elect Trump said he wanted to close the U.S. Department of Education. So, what is the future of the Education Department? In today's Political Minute, Blake Berman, host of The Hill on News Nation, explains what the department does and how Americans feel about it.
So what's the future of the Department of Education? I'm Blake Berman, host of The Hill on News Nation. On the campaign trail, President-elect Trump said he wants to close the department. Education is mostly handled by state and local governments, though. The U.S. Education Department administers things like federal grant programs and oversees the $1.6 trillion student loan program. It also runs the nation's report card and enforces civil rights laws in federally funded schools. Now, according to the Pew Research Center, Americans are split on their views of the department. Republicans in Washington for years have talked about eliminating the Department of Education, and now that vow is being renewed. I'm Blake Berman, and this is the News Nation Political Minute.
You can find more news and analysis from Blake and our colleagues 24/7 on News Nation. To find News Nation on your screen, go to joinnn.com. That's today's Daily Debrief. I'm Drew Petrimoulx. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Hill's YouTube channel. And come back here soon for the intersection between politics and policy.